Welcome back to Digital Storytelling. I'm Sophie, and today I'll be talking to you about Transmedia Storytelling. In this presentation, I'll be walking you through what Transmedia Storytelling is, types of information interaction design, and also showing you a recent example of how a television show utilized Transmedia Storytelling for marketing campaigns in the entertainment industry. So let's start with what is Transmedia Storytelling. It's the technique of telling a single story or story experience across multiple platforms and formats utilizing current digital technology. So think about Wonder Woman, how she started with a comic book series, went to a movie, has an official website, was advertised in official magazines, has a soundtrack, all of this coming together to form an advertisement across multiple platforms for this product. It's about making sure the story connects with the right people at the right moment through the right media. There are some types of design that Shedroff covers in the reading that you should have done, specifically information design, interaction design, and sensorial design. Information design is about assembling data into a presentation to create information and knowledge. Interaction design is all about designing opportunities for the user to interact, manipulate, and share information. So, interaction designers create logos, colors, icons, buttons, basically anything you can click, swipe, tap, or such, they create. They think about how you will interact with everything, the flow of a web page, or how an app on your phone should be organized, and what kind of colors you're going to associate with what emotions, and so on. Finally, there is sensorial, which is the design of the media which will best support the information. Now think about how all these things need to work together to achieve the goal to create valuable, compelling, and empowering information and experiences for others. So let's do a bit more of a breakdown of these concepts. Starting with information design, you might recall that as you read in Shedroff's PDF reading, data is meaningless. Data is the product of discovery, research, gathering, and creation. It is the raw material we find of create that we use to build our communications. Unfortunately, data is fairly worthless to most of us. It is the product of research and our creation, such as writing, but it is not an adequate product for communicating. To have informational value, it must be organized, transformed, and presented in a way that gives it meaning. Data isn't valuable as communication because it isn't a complete message. So, unless we have a way to organize the data in a cohesive and easily understandable way, then the viewers and users have no way of making the connections you want them to. You might recognize this chart, but I really want you to see how the information design begins. This is crucial to understanding the steps which you should follow. You gather data, researching, discovering, creating connections. Next, you organize your information in a way that makes sense, using support data and research to back up your statements. Next comes knowledge, when the information and context that you are giving to your data becomes an experience for the user. This creates conversation and tells a story or stimulus for the user. Finally, this builds into wisdom or an understanding of your information as the user contemplates, evaluates, interprets, and retrospects on the information which they have been provided. All of these things build upon each other to create an overarching experience that conveys information to your user. Remember, the goal of transmedia storytelling is to create valuable, compelling, and empowering information and experiences for the users. Next up is interaction design, which, as I mentioned, is all about designing opportunities for the user to interact, manipulate, and share information. So think about how they can change the size of an image or share it on Facebook, how easy it is to share on Instagram and manipulate, how you can swipe across the screen, think about Tinder with swiping right and such. Sensorial design is a little bit trickier. It's the design of the media which will best support information. It's design that considers human senses and sensations, engaging with them and calling upon human experiences to create a more meaningful and overall experience for the user. So now I want to talk about an example that hopefully everyone knows about. Game of Thrones aired its first season in 2011, and it has developed its transmedia presence significantly. For starters, let's start at their main page, showed here. Here are some photos from their main page. Notice the arrows on the main page, which takes into account the 3 types of design: the organization of information at the top with the drop-down bars, the organization of information at the top with information design, the way which we can scroll down the page to find more that we want to know, or how we can hit the drop-down bar of the top tabs for similar information. So things like seasons, about, the blog, the viewer's guide. Next, we think about how we have the social media buttons displayed in a line block of their own in the middle of the page rather than at the bottom. This is more about interaction design. The sensory design includes the colors, the sound of the video, the soundtrack that we would typically recognize and which we have our own associations with. All of these things they have fine-tuned over the years so the website is more engaging for new viewers and for the current fan base. Now, I want to take a look at the Game of Thrones Transmedia campaign, which was released to the public. Using digital strategies, Campfire, the marketing team in charge of campaigning for Game of Thrones, utilized transmedia and sensory design so that fans could experience the world of Game of Thrones through each of the 5 senses. They used digital strategies fueled by fan activities such as tweeting, Tumblr, artwork, etc. They needed the fans of the book to be brought over to the televised adaptation. So they combined official promotion and fan-generated content to create a more interactive fan-based transmedia experience. Season 1, Campfire focused on transmedia promotion based on these 5 senses, with a platform for each sense allowing for the discovery of one facet of the show's universe. So an example is the banner generator, where you could select which house, the colors, and create your own motto. These encourage fans to share their artistic creations on social media with special hashtags. So the Game of Thrones really utilized its growing fan base to cross from the television screen to social media platforms and more. Now take a look at what these fans have done. Beautiful Death, a website via Tumblr, focuses on converting the iconic deaths of each episode of Game of Thrones into creative graphic artworks. The House Motto Generator. The last image is from Twitter with people tweeting about the Red Wedding. The great part about this transmedia campaign is that it is mostly fan-based. The marketing team does a lot of work to make the world of Game of Thrones interactive and allow fans to have creative room. Presenting the characters, settings, atmosphere, and universe prior to the broadcast of the first episode is one strategy which was used. All of this is a way to reach across different platforms so that everyone can in some way learn about Game of Thrones and perhaps be interested. So, in conclusion, transmedia storytelling is telling a single story or story experience across multiple platforms and formats using current digital technologies such as Twitter, Tumblr, that kind of thing. The goal of transmedia storytelling is to create valuable, compelling, and empowering information and experiences for the others. Data is basically meaningless unless we organize it into knowledge and give it meaning. And then the 3 types of information interaction design is information design, interaction design, and sensorial design. Thank you for listening.